Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to Beauty and the Beasts, where we dive into eerie, mysterious, and sometimes just plain creepy stories from across Asia. Tonight's story was actually sent in by one of my viewers from Vietnam. She told me this happened to a friend of hers, someone she trusts, and the way she described it, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. It's not a ghost story with loud bangs or floating figures, but rather something much more subtle, quiet, creeping, the kind of story that slowly gets under your skin the more you think about it. It all started when her friend moved to Vietnam for work, to what seemed like a perfectly normal apartment in a quiet neighborhood. But very quickly, things didn't feel so normal anymore. So, turn the lights down and let's get into the story. If you love skincare, especially Korean skincare, you need to know about Yes Style. It's basically the go-to place if you're living abroad and can't easily get your hands on Asian beauty products. They carry a ton of Korean brands, and I mean the real deal, and not just the basics, but the really good stuff. And speaking of the good stuff, my absolute favorite clearing pad these days is Celemax's Chiuge Heartleaf BHA Peeling Pad. This one. If you're in Korea, everyone knows this product. It's a peeling pad that makes your skin instantly smoother, like baby skin smooth. So I use it whenever I need a fresh reset. It's so addictive. And for everyday use, my ride or die is the Anua Heartleaf 77 Clear Pad. Even after double cleansing, there's always a little residue left on your skin, like especially the nose area, right? And this pad gets rid of it so gently. I use it daily, and honestly, I don't feel clean without it anymore. And then in the mornings, while I'm blow drying my hair, I stick on the Biodance Collagen Gel Toner pads. They hydrate, soothe, and cool your skin down, especially if you keep them in the fridge during summer. It feels so good, and it really helps calm any puffiness. So you can grab all of these on Yes Style, and if you use my code DARKAsia12, you will get 12% off your purchase. And seriously, if you miss Korean skincare or just want to level up your routine, you're really going to love these products. I highly recommend them. I will leave the link below, so go check them out. Now let's get back to the story. So this woman who once lived in Vietnam said what happened to her there was one of the most unsettling experiences of her life. So what exactly did she go through? Her name, we don't know her real name, and all we know is that she is Korean, so let's call her Jimin. Okay, and she moved to Ho Chi Minh City about 7 years ago for work. At first, life was great. She enjoyed the vibrant, colorful city, made some lovely local friends, and spent her early years there feeling happy and at ease. But over time, the noise and chaos of the city wore her down. She started longing for something quieter, somewhere more peaceful. Eventually, she found an apartment in a quieter residential neighborhood. A real estate agent introduced it to her. It was cheaper than most listings in the area, which definitely caught her attention. The building was a bit old, but it was well maintained. Yeah, it's an older building, the agent told her, but that's why it's so affordable. And honestly, the location's not bad either. It looked worn from the outside, but inside it had been completely remodeled. Clean, spacious, good layout. Jimin liked it right away. Still, something bugged her. This is a lot cheaper than other places around here. Can I ask why? She asked the agent, and the agent paused for a second, then gave a little awkward laugh. Well, it's just because the building is old. And that was that. Jimin didn't push further. She decided to sign the lease and move in. On moving day, she felt great. The apartment smelled fresh, and the whole area was way more relaxing than where she lived before. There was even a little park nearby. She loved that. Everything seemed perfect until that first night. Jimin woke up in the middle of the night. She couldn't explain it, no loud noise, no nightmare, but she woke up for some reason. She had this weird feeling, so she looked around her bedroom, but nothing seemed out of place. Her cat Max was just sitting there, staring at the ceiling. Weird, she thought. The next morning, as she stepped outside for work, she ran into her next-door neighbor, an older Vietnamese woman. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept much. They exchanged greetings in simple Vietnamese, and then, out of nowhere, the neighbor asked, "Nothing happened in your apartment last night, did it?" And Jimin said, "Sorry?" She blinked, like, "What do you mean?" The woman hesitated, then said, quietly, "I just heard a lot of banging noises. I thought something happened." Jimin smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh no, I think you must have heard it from another unit." She didn't think much of it, probably just a misunderstanding. But that night, it happened again. She woke up around 3 a.m., same as before. At first, she thought maybe it's just because I'm still getting used to a new place, but the more it happened, the more it started to get to her. And then something changed. Every time she woke up, she had this horrible feeling, like someone was watching her. There was no one there, of course. She was alone, but Max, her cat, kept staring at the exact same spot on the ceiling, like every time. And Jimin, all she could see was the same dark, empty ceiling. A few days later, she was coming home from work. She walked through the apartment gate, and that's when she noticed it. Someone was staring at her. Jimin said she saw a woman dressed in traditional Vietnamese clothing. Now, that's not unusual in Vietnam. Like, plenty of people wear it casually, so at first she didn't think much of it. But something felt off. It was the woman's eyes. They looked empty. And you know that kind of hollow stare that makes your skin crawl? Yeah, that. Jimin went back inside her apartment, but something just didn't sit right. She looked out the window again, and the woman was gone. Later that night, she went to the bathroom to take off her makeup and wash her face. And again, something felt strange. She thought she saw something flicker in the mirror while she was showering. Just a quick movement, like something passing behind her. But when she looked properly, there was nothing there, just her own reflection. Still, it unsettled her enough that she left the bathroom light on and went to sit in the living room. That night, she didn't feel like going into her bedroom, so she just fell asleep on the couch with the TV on. The next morning, she ran into her neighbor again, the old Vietnamese woman who lived next door. This time, the woman looked even more exhausted than before. Her dark circles were deeper, and her face seemed paler, just tired in a way that was hard to explain. "Nothing happened last night?" she asked again, and Jimin was a bit thrown off, like the question felt strange, and honestly, it rubbed her the wrong way. But still, she smiled politely and replied, "No, nothing happened." After that, she headed out for work. That night, she came home, crawled into bed, and tried to catch up on sleep. But again, around 3 a.m., she woke up. She thought she heard someone touching her front door, like faint scratching or a gentle knock. Nervously, she walked over and looked through the peephole, but no one was there. Probably just my imagination, she thought. She locked the door again and went back to sleep. But as the weeks passed, things started to get weird. She was losing weight. Her skin wasn't doing well. She felt tired all the time, even though she wasn't doing anything different. So one day, she opened up to her local Vietnamese friend and told her everything. Her friend listened carefully, and then she said, "Let's go to your place together." It was the weekend, so they decided her friend would sleep over and stay the night with her. But when her friend arrived, she brought something with her. It was a boachu, a Vietnamese protective charm. Apparently, her brother was a monk, and she'd asked him to bless it, especially for Jimin. Jimin kind of laughed, like, why would you bring that? And her friend just said, just in case, you never know. Even though Jimin didn't really believe in that kind of thing, she was touched. Like she thanked her and decided not to make a big deal out of it. That night, they both slept soundly, but in the morning, her friend looked serious, like really serious. Jimin asked her, like, what's wrong? And that is when her friend showed her the charm she had brought. It had turned completely black, like it had been burned. What the hell? Why is it all black now? Did you paint it or something? Her friend shook her head. I didn't do anything. Jimin thought maybe it was a prank at first, but then she saw her friend's face, like dead serious. Something wasn't right. Her friend quickly called her older brother, the monk, who had made the charm. A few hours later, he came to the apartment himself. He quietly walked through the apartment, looking around carefully. And after a moment, he said, I really think it's best not to live here. Jimin was shocked, like, what do you mean? I just moved in. But the monk was calm, and his expression was serious. There's something here, he said. A lot of lost spirits, wandering, and the smell of blood. It's heavy. I've never felt anything quite like this before. Jimin didn't know what to say. It sounded ridiculous, but the way he said it, calm, serious, no exaggeration, made it even scarier. And that night, the monk decided to stay. He said he would pray in the living room, while Jimin and her friend shared the bedroom. At some point, in the middle of the night, Jimin woke up again, and she heard a sound, faint, coming from the direction of the living room. It was someone whispering, not loud, not clear, just a low murmuring, like someone chanting. It wasn't stopping. In fact, it felt like it was getting closer. So she whispered to her friend, is your brother still praying? But her friend was sound asleep. And the deep, heavy breathing she heard from the bedroom wasn't coming from the monk either. So Jimin got up slowly and opened the bedroom door. The living room lights were off. Only the faint glow of the street lamp outside was coming through the window. And that whispering, it wasn't coming from the living room anymore. It was coming from the kitchen. Heart racing, she turned on her phone flashlight and walked slowly toward the sound. And she was expecting to see nothing, just the dark, empty kitchen. But then she saw feet. Someone was standing behind the refrigerator. She slowly raised the light upward and saw a woman standing with her face to the wall, wearing a white dress, hair long, messy, covering her face, arms limp at her sides, motionless. And somehow she was facing toward the neighbor's apartment. And the woman, she was whispering something. Jimin couldn't make out the words. She just stood there, frozen. Her body felt cold, like the warmth had drained out of her. Her head started spinning, and then the woman slowly turned her head. And that's when Jimin saw it. Her eyes weren't there, just hollow sockets, as if someone had scooped them out. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Just as she felt like she was about to black out, someone yanked her back. It was her friend. Hey, are you okay? What were you doing over there? Jimin, pale and shaking, just pointed toward the kitchen. Her friend quickly shone the flashlight toward the spot, but of course, no one was there, just the cold floor and the dark wall. After that, Jimin couldn't take it anymore. The stress was overwhelming. She asked her friend to help her find a new place to live. And luckily, within a few days, they found another apartment. A few days later, Jimin returned to the old place one last time to grab some of her belongings. But when she arrived, there were police officers standing outside the building. One of them approached her. "Do you speak Vietnamese?" "Yeah, I do," she replied. "Good. Do you happen to know this person?" And he showed her a photo. It was the old Vietnamese woman who lived next door. "Yeah, she's my neighbor." And the officer nodded, then began asking more questions. That's when he told her the woman had been arrested for murder. Turns out there had been a homicide case in that very apartment complex. Jimin's next door neighbor had killed someone. And that explained everything. Why she kept asking Jimin if she'd noticed anything. She was trying to see if Jimin had figured it out, trying to cover her tracks. According to the police, she used to invite people over, drug them, and then kill them. They never figured out why she did it, but one of her victims was a young woman wearing traditional Vietnamese clothing, exactly like the figure Jimin had seen. Only then did Jimin realize the sounds at her front door, the eyes watching her, the presence in the mirror. Maybe it wasn't just paranoia. Maybe it wasn't ghosts. Maybe it was her neighbor, like watching her, wondering if Jimin knew what she'd done. Looking back, Jimin sometimes wonders if the spirit of the woman who was murdered, the one in the white dress, appeared to her on purpose. Maybe not to scare her, but to warn her, to get her out before it was too late. Since then, Jimin never went back to the suburbs or quiet areas alone. It's been years now, but she says when she thinks back to that time, the fear still hits her like a wave. Eventually, she finished her job assignment and returned to Korea safely. But sometimes in the middle of the night, she says she still hears that faint whispering, just like back then. And it makes you wonder, was it really a ghost trying to haunt her, or was it a spirit trying to save her? So what do you think really happened? Was it just coincidence that Jimin kept waking up at night, or was something trying to get her attention before it was too late? Maybe the figure she saw wasn't there to harm her, but to help her realize something was wrong. And maybe the real danger isn't the things we can't explain, but the people we think we know. Okay, that is the end of today's story. Did you like it? Thanks for watching another story here on Beauty and the Beasts. If you ever experienced something similar, something small that didn't feel quite right, I would love to hear about that in the comments. Sometimes the quietest moments are the ones that stay with us the longest. So see you in our next episode, and until then, bye-bye.